Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel, Gardening in Cold Spring Harbor. For those of you who are new to my channel, or maybe you guys forgot, I am located in Long Island, New York, Zone 7A. Another beautiful, sunny, warm spring day here in Long Island, New York. How are you guys? How have you been? I hope all of you are staying well. Regardless of the gardening zone in which you guys live, I know that all of us have already started our seeds, whether you started them inside indoors or you directly sowed them into your garden. This time of the year, we are at the end of April. All of us have already started our veggies and our flowers and our herbs from seed, you guys. So as I said in one of my previous videos, I absolutely love growing my veggies, my herbs, and my flowers from seed. I think it is just absolutely rewarding. But I know that there are some of you guys out there that are either skeptical or maybe have tried growing something from seed and got disappointed with the result. So I wanted to talk to you about something very, very special today, which always helped me, and hopefully it can help you guys as well. So today we're going to talk about 3 biggest mistakes any of us can make when starting seeds, whether it's indoors or outdoors. And I am not ashamed to say that I've made those mistakes in the past myself. And from experience and from trying things and reading up some books and doing some research, I have found very, very useful tips on how to prevent, or if the mistake already occurred, how to potentially fix that mistake without losing our seedlings that we worked so hard to grow and to get. So today I am not going to talk about germination issues, you guys, because unless you plant your seeds too deep or you don't water your seeds, most plants will germinate for you guys. So today we're going to focus and talk about issues with our seedlings after they have already germinated. So let's get right into it. What is first possible mistake that any of us can make when starting our veggies or flowers or herbs from seed? Mistake number 1, lack of sunlight. Yes, guys, a lot of us have that south facing windowsill in our apartment or our home, and many of us think that by placing our seed starting trays or our pots with our seeds on that windowsill, that will be enough sunlight for those seeds. In many cases, it might just be the case. However, this is one of the reasons why we get those thin, leggy seedlings. Yes, guys, when your seeds germinate and start to grow, they need at least 6+ hours of sunlight per day. So if they're not getting that direct sunlight, and let's say it's still cooler outside in your growing zone, and you must keep your seedlings inside indoors, they will be looking for that sunlight. They will stretch towards that sunlight. So if you see your seedlings are getting skinnier and leggier, number 1 cause of that is lack of sunlight, guys. So now, how can you potentially prevent that mistake or fix that mistake if it already occurred? You can prevent it by getting a grow light, you guys. Yes, grow lights are they're built specifically for seed starting. And no, they're not all that expensive. There are quite a few grow lights which range between $11 to $13. Just remember, when using a grow light, make sure that the top of your seedlings leaves are no more than 2 inches away from that grow light. So as your seedlings grow, you may have to adjust that height. You might have to add something underneath your seeding tray, such a maybe a brick or even a thick book. Basically, you would have to raise your seedlings closer to the grow lights. So let's say you can't afford to spend any additional money on a grow light. Guess what, guys? You can use regular light bulbs to help you grow your seeds, to start your seeds. But there are 2 very, very important factors when choosing that light bulb. And let me tell you what those are. So if you decide to go to your local hardware store or even a Home Depot and you go into the light section, there are 2 things that you need to look for on that box. One is the lumens amount. What is the lumens amount? That's the intensity of your light bulb. So the lumens number should be between, the range of your lumens should be between 1500 to 3000 lumens if you're planning to use that light bulb as a grow light. The next very, very important thing you need to look for when it comes to choosing the light bulb is the Kelvin amount. What is the Kelvin amount? So the Kelvin numbers tell you exactly the temperature of your light bulb. How warm does it get? So the Kelvin amount should be between 4500 to 6500 if you're planning to use that light bulb for growing purposes. So the next biggest mistake when starting from seed is using or choosing to use a wrong potting mix, guys. I have said this before many, many times. If you're growing anything from seed, you cannot use regular potting soil or regular garden soil or even compost soil. You have to use special seed starting mix. That is absolutely crucial. So why is using regular potting mix or garden bed soil wrong when it comes to starting from seeds? Because those soils have various pathogens and bacteria in them, and they will interfere with those delicate, tiny roots of your seedlings. Seed starting mix is created and formulated specifically for seed starting purposes. It is sterile, it is light and airy, and it is well draining. It keeps in that moisture for your seedlings, yet it is very, very well drained, which is what your tender seedling roots need. So you can make your own seed starting mix should you choose not to purchase one at a store. So how do you make your own seed starting mix? It is 2 parts of peat moss or coconut coir and 1 part vermiculite. And if you do not have vermiculite, you could substitute vermiculite with 1 part perlite. What it does is it retains extra moisture. So what is mistake number 3? overwatering, which then leads to damping off, which then leads to fungus gnats. Underwatering can also be a big issue when starting from seed, but most of the time it is overwatering your delicate, gentle seedlings. So many of us come into our green rooms or our kitchens and we look at our seedlings and we see that the top of the soil is dry. So what do? Of course, we water our seedlings. Come the end of the day and we go back to check on our seedlings and the top of the soil looks dry again. So what do many of us do? We water again. And you know what, guys? Before our seedlings emerge, it is okay to water multiple times a day that soil. However, again, if that soil looks dry, it's okay. However, as soon as the seedlings emerge, and if you are watering consistently multiple times a day, that is exactly what is referred to as over-watering your seedlings. And that is a huge, huge mistake. So as soon as you guys see the first 2 true leaves on your seedlings, there's absolutely no need to overwater. What does overwatering do to our seedlings? How can it hurt them? Your seedlings, first of all, have very delicate, shallow root systems. So by overwatering your seedlings, you are harboring bacteria and fungus to grow on your soil surface. Also, if you're gonna keep overwatering your seedlings, you will start seeing algae grow on top of your soil. Any green moth-looking growth is that algae. And why does it appear? It appears because of overwatering, too much moisture in that soil. So I know that many of us are using these tiny seed starting trays with very little cells, and it's very hard to see what's going on deeper inside that cell. However, if you are guys using larger containers, such as a 1-inch, 2-inch, 3-inch containers, what I like to do is I like to put my finger inside that soil. I go about halfway down and I check that moisture level. I never trust what I see on the soil surface. Just because the soil surface might seem dry, that doesn't necessarily mean that the soil is dry or your seed starting mix is dry all the way down to the roots. So if you have that enough space in your pot or container, try using your finger. Try to stick your finger down. And if your soil or seed starting mix is dry midway into your container, then that's a good indication that it's time to water your seedlings again. So another very, very helpful tip when deciding if it's time to water your seedlings again is if your seed starting mix is dry. Usually those sides of your mix start to kind of peel away from your container. It starts to kind of create that gap on the border between the soil and the container. When I see that little gap, when I see that soil trying to pull in closer to the seedling, that is a very, very good indication that it's time to water your seedlings again. Another very helpful tip is that just touching your container or your pot, lifting it, feeling the weight of it. Heavier pot or a container or even a tray indicates moisture content. If your container or your pot or your tray are light as a feather, you guys, that means your soil is too dry and it's time to water your seedlings again. And of course, the easiest way to tell that your plant or your seedling is in dire need of water is if you see your plant wilting. Of course, we never want to get to that point because then there's that, fear of losing that seedling. But of course, if you see any sort of wilting in the stem or the leaves, time to water your plant. So now let's talk about something called damping off. So overwatering does lead to something called damping off when it comes to young, immature seedlings. So what does damping off mean? What does it refer to? So basically, one day your seeds might look strong, healthy, nice thicker stem, beautiful green leaves. And then the next morning you come to look at your seedlings and you see that seedling stem all shriveled up, and you see your seedling kind of collapsing down, bending down like so. And it happens almost instantaneously. 5 minutes ago it was fine, and then you see that plumping down. What is that? That's damping off, you guys. What causes that? Why does that happen? That happens because you unfortunately overwatered your seedling. So damping off of your seedling is mainly and primarily caused by the bacteria and fungus growth in your seed starting mix. And as I said previously, what is the main cause of bacteria and fungi forming in your soil? Overwatering. So how can you potentially fix damping off issue with your seedling? Do you just throw your seedlings away? Do you just give up on them? No, guys. There are two things you can do to see if your seedling will emerge, come back to life for you once again. The first thing you can do is get a fan, guys. Yes, regular fan. Turn it on and put it very, very close to your seedlings. So what does this fan do? Essentially, it acts like natural wind. It will cause your seedlings to move, which will essentially cause your seedlings to become stronger and to give that stem more durability. Another thing you can do to potentially prevent that damping off process is you take regular ground cinnamon from your spice cabinet. Yes, guys, cinnamon prevents bacterial growth on your seed starting mix. What you do is you sprinkle it right on top of your soil, and that will create like a thin little barrier, which in fact will fight that bacteria growth. So let's say you already accidentally overwatered your seedlings and you see them damping off, meaning, they seem weaker, they shrunk in their, wilted in their stem, and you see them kind of like plopping down. How can you possibly try to fix that problem without having to get rid of that seedling? What I like to do is I take a regular spray bottle or a mist bottle. I fill it up with 1 teaspoon of neem oil. For those of you who have never heard of that product, I will link it below. It is sold in almost every single garden center, in nursery centers. It's sold on Amazon. It is sold in Home Depot. It is a natural oil product. It is meant for organic gardening, and I will again link it below. I use it all the time. It kills bacteria, it kills insects, it kills aphids, it kills quite a few unwanted little critters there. Anyway, so I take 1 teaspoon of neem oil. I add a tiny little bit of dish soap, like 1 little squirt in there, and I fill up the rest of the bottle with tap water, and I spray my soil and my seedling with this natural home remedy. And most of the time, guys, it brings my seedling back to life. So for those of you who live in humid climates, humid zones, here in zone 7A, our summers, very, very humid. Some days it feels like a sauna. So what can humidity, humid environments lead to what problem? Humidity can and does lead to fungus gnats. What do? They lay larvae on your soil, on top of your soil, which then penetrates your soil and goes down to the root system. And that bacteria from that larvae and those gnats basically destroys your seedling's root system. And what are gnats? They're those tiny, tiny, almost invincible little flying insects. Sometimes it is very hard to see them if you're one or two or three. But once the problem gets out of hand, trust me, you are going to see them. You're going to see them in your house, in your room, wherever you're keeping your seedlings. You're going to see them on top of your soil where your seedlings are growing. So how do you fix that problem? There are two ways. Way number one, neem oil. Spray directly on your seedling and on that soil where your seedling is growing. For those of us who are maybe not financially able to purchase neem oil or just have, no means to get it from anywhere, there is another way to fight fungus gnats. You get sticky fly traps. Yes, those simple, cheap, yellow, taping sheets that you may see in stores or restaurants or in garden centers even. So you hang those within close proximity to your seedling trays. And what that do is they will catch majority of those fungus gnats, because the fungus gnats are pretty much your microscopic sized flying insects. So another very, very common mistake is under watering. I mean, there is not much to say about that. We know that our seeds and our seedlings require consistent moisture. By consistent, again, I don't mean we need to water and overwater them. But if you underwater your seedlings, essentially your seedlings will die. There's no going around that. Another very common mistake is starting your seeds just too early in the growing season, or starting them in containers that are just too small for that particular plant. Essentially, you want to start your seedlings 4 to 6 weeks before your last anticipated frost date, considering that many seeds don't even need to be started indoors. Larger vegetables such as pumpkins, you have melons, watermelons, those guys have to be directly sown into your soil. You cannot start them indoors because they will not tolerate transplant. So what happens to those seedlings which you just maybe started too early? Maybe you got excited and started it way before you should have. So those seedlings will get taller in size, in height. So based from my experience, the seedlings which you are transplanting from inside to outside in your home garden should not be taller than, say, 4 to 6 inches in height. That is ideal height for young seedlings which you are transplanting. Let's say you started your seeds early and your seedlings are now 8 to 10 inches. I mean, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. They'll just grow. But based on my experience and based on all the reading that I did and all the research, the shorter seedlings, the ones that are closer to 4 to 6 inches in height, will most likely do better and thrive better in your garden than those taller ones. Also, I cannot say this enough. If you are thinking of growing anything from seed, please make sure that whatever vegetable, herb, or flower you're planting can be transplanted. Consider that fragile, shallow root system of your plant. So always read that packet. always do that research. And again, my goal is just to simply guide you guys, simply give you those easy yet proven gardening tips so you have most success and satisfaction growing your garden from seed. So this is it for this video, you guys, today. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for watching me. I see how many more of you guys are viewing my videos. Thank you so much. If you guys found this video to be helpful and useful, or let's say there was at least one tip that I gave you today that you liked and think you will try in your home garden, then show me that support. Click thumbs up. And I would truly be so appreciative if you guys subscribe to my channel. I love releasing and uploading new gardening videos for you almost every single day. I appreciate you guys, my loyal viewers, and yes, you guys, my precious subscribers. Leave your comments below, guys. Love reading your comments. Love to communicate with you. I personally respond to each and every one of your comments. Everybody, be well, stay healthy, happy, and safe. And happy gardening. And I'll see you guys again in my new upcoming videos. Bye, guys.